Welcome to This Got Me Thinking, where clarity comes from conversations and the connections that spark from them. I am your host, Chris LaFay, and today I had the pleasure of chatting with Seth Goldstein. Seth's been running his digital marketing agency for well over 15 years, but there's a clear line between version 1 and version 2 of his business. Version 1 was all about hustle and chaos, taking every client, doing everything himself, and honestly treating his competitors like enemies. But when life forced him into corporate America for a season, he learned something that completely changed how he approached his company. He rebuilt it from the ground up with systems, boundaries, and a completely different mindset about what it means to run a sustainable business. I'll let Seth tell his story. So, you got burned out from journalism. You had the side hustle kind of already started. What were the first few months like?
I went to school for history and journalism. We're dual majors, pretty much, with minors in anthropology and political science. So the only ROI I got on my 80 grand. Now keep in mind that's now probably a $300,000 education because education has gone up since 2004. But my 80 grand education was journalism. So I didn't take business classes in college. I didn't know my head from my backside when it came to business.
In those months when you were just getting started, I'm assuming that you made some assumptions about business ownership that were just categorically wrong. What were some of those?
I can just start a business, and people will come. You build it, they will come. The whole field of dreams, cliche. You build it, they'll come eventually if you do things right. But it's a slog.
Looking back in the past, over the 15 or so years that it's been, when did you have to pivot during that time period, and what did that look like for you? Pick one in particular.
The biggest one was when my son was born.
Okay.
It was back, he had some bowel obstruction when he was born, so he had 6 weeks in the NICU. And so that kind of killed my business because I was dealing with my kid. And, I was like, all right, I have to get a job. That was a major pivot. It was like, all right, I'm not doing Goals to Me anymore, at least for right now. Got the job at Merck, at Telerex, was the subsidiary. And I realized, let me absorb as much of the business knowledge I can get from this experience that I can. And that's really was my business school, was working. I mean, a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to go to school, I'm going to learn business. Well, I went to school for journalism. Everything I learned in journalism school was all theory. It wasn't. It was practical knowledge too. All that practical knowledge by the time I got out was outdated and they had to reteach you. Hence the reason why you get paid so little coming out as a journalist out of college. That first job, they're going to pay you like $21,000 because they have to train you how to do the job how they want you to do it. And so it's like, it was an entry level job.
When you had your child and you went back to corporate and kind of, miniaturely shut down the business, how did that transition feel?
Exhilarating, scary, and depressing all at once. Because it was a new experience that I hadn't done corporate. I had done journalism corporate, which is different kinds of politics. It was dealing with actual politics. Like dealing with local politicians and all that baloney. But now I was dealing with corporate politics, which is a whole nother ball game. Whose backside did you kiss today? Who woke up on the wrong side of the bed? Who's cranky every morning? Then you just don't even say hi to in the morning because they're going to ring you the riot act. Like such garbage in corporate. People who do like 50 years in corporate deserve a medal. I don't know how they do it. Oh my God, I'm trying not to curse, but the BS that goes on in corporate America is ridiculous. I mean, there's a book there. This just with the year and a half I did there's a book there on the crap that went down.
What was the prompting to go from corporate and back into being self-employed again?
I couldn't deal with the BS anymore. It was getting to the point where I was like, this is not a right fit for me. I'm not a corporate stooge. I'm not a corporate person. I'm not someone who can toe the line. I am too much of an independent thinker. I need to be on my own again. Talked to my wife at that point. We had nestled, nudged. I don't know the adjective to use for that, but we kind of squirreled away. There we go. Squirreled away.
Okay.
That's a good one.
There
Squirreled
it is.
away some money on the side, and I was like, she's like, you should go back out and do your own thing again. So version 2 of Gold Steamy, I had come back and I had learned a lot more. And it was a lot better because I had some business experience at that point.
What did you change with version 2 of the business from the get-go?
Not flying by the seat of my pants. Doing the contract. As much as they suck, don't not have a contract. Even if it's a simple statement of work where you write out, this is what I'm going to do, this is what you're going to pay me. Both sign it and say, like, if this is broken, we can have have an escape clause in it. Like that, like if, 30 days notice, we can leave. Like even SEO, where I say it's a year contract, I say, like, if you let me know 30 days in advance that you don't want to work with me anymore, I don't want to work with you, whatever, we'll part ways. Like, there's no reason to say, well, you're stuck with me. I want them stuck with me because then they're not going to pay me and then it'll be a thorn in my side. So I'm always having an escape clause, and people are always like, why have an escape clause? I'm like, exactly that.
How were you flying by the seat of your pants before, kind of during version 1, versus not flying by the seat of your pants in version 2? What did that change?
I also took every deal I could get in version 1 and didn't kind of suss out, are they the right fit for me? And now in version 2, I still screwed up plenty of times and got clients that were not the right fit for me. And they usually ended, not the best ways. But version 1, there was a lot more of that. Because I didn't have the business acumen. I didn't know how to kind of hold myself in a business meeting. Like, I would show up too early or too late to a meeting. Like basic, simple business things that you kind of learn in business, I didn't have in version 1 that I now had in version 2. Could beat into my head by corporate America.
What did version 1 become that was I'm going to call it unsustainable versus version 2 that was more streamlined and simple? What were the differences there?
Version 2 had systems. And I'm still working on these systems. Like, I mean, there's still times to get into a project and there's no systems and it is a cluster. But then when I know that there needs to be systems now. I can't just jump into a project and just go willy-nilly into it and figure out how I'm going, build the plane while I'm flying it. Now I've done it enough times. I built the reps up. I know generally what I need to do to get the project done and over the finish line and into maintenance and into residuals.
How did your team composition change from version 1 to version 2?
I found better people to work with. And honestly, one of the biggest things I realized is that other web designers are not competition. They are assets to work with. Because like the way I run my company is it's me. Even today, it's me. But I have freelancers and contractors that I work with on a regular basis that I trust that can help me get the work done. And I know and I have systems in place that let me work with them in a reasonable way. And those are always adjusting. Something breaks. Me and the freelancer go back and figure out, well, why did this thing not get done on this day instead of that day? We figure stuff out, and it's a nice kumbaya experience. Now versus back back in the first version 1, I had to do everything because everyone was my enemy. It was all for me. I had to kind of fight to live, and this is a wrong mentality.
What forced that mindset shift?
Growing up, I'm matured. At that point, when I got out of corporate, I was like 34. When I went into corporate, I was 32. So those 2 years was a major grow up stage for me, and more maturity happened. And I think maybe possibly I was getting there already in version 1 when I jumped to corporate for a little bit, but I don't know because I'll never know because I jumped to corporate. So who knows?
The question I want to look at today is, are you treating potential collaborators as competition when they could actually be assets and partners? A long time ago, I started something called the Talent Network. One of my advisors told me that I should do this, where I started doing proactive outreach to folks that do web design, development, project management, writing, basically anything that could be connected to a website. And the goal was to learn more about what they know how to do, what they like doing, the systems they work in, the technologies that they worked in, so that when business got busy, I already had folks that I at least had a quick conversation with. Now, I might not know all the details of how smart they are, how good their work is, their whole track records and testimonials, et cetera, but at least I had that gut check completed. And the thing is, those folks I've collaborated with over the years of varying different sizes, from freelancers to agencies, we've had a lot of successful long-term partnerships with those folks. While some of them were one-offs, but that's okay. And there's actually an email that I got recently from a friend of mine. He's an agency owner who actually does very similar stuff to what I do. And he wanted to connect me with somebody. And so I'll read you this little snippet of the email that he sent over to me over a weekend. It said, person's name, Chris is with Classic City, quite a company quite similar to mine. He's technically a direct competitor that I should desire to crush. But in reality, he's an awesome guy, and we connect often and hang out and learn from one another. I don't have anything in particular for you guys to talk about, but both of you guys should absolutely know one another. And that is one agency person who knows me, a website agency, who is connecting yet another marketing agency owner, where all three of us do very close to similar things, but yet we should all know one another and help each other out and partner together and collaborate, because when you collaborate, good things happen. And that's what Seth got me thinking.